Bianca, can you start by introducing yourself and also outline why did you see the need to create Financy?
My name's Bianca Hartge-Hazelman, and in 2016 I created the women's money blog site that I call it Financy. It's all about making finance a little bit fancy. I've been working at the Financial Review as a journalist for many years, and I increasingly found myself drawn towards writing about women and wealth, women personal finance, women in investing, and I wanted to focus 100% on it, and that gave rise to Financy. But what I discovered through writing a lot and having children who were girls was that I couldn't find a lot of data, gendered data that was being published in the mainstream media beyond a lot of headline grabbing stuff about gender pay gaps. This was increasingly topical at that time, and I couldn't really make a lot of sense out of it. So that gave rise to another baby of mine, the Women's Index, which is an aggregation of a lot of official data that looks at the gender pay gaps across pay, superannuation, unpaid work, paid work, leadership, education, fields of study relative to what you earn, all of these things that basically give us a scorecard on Australia's economic gender equality metric, or gender equality in Australia.
And Bianca, can you give me an overview of the latest key findings from the Women's Index?
Based on the March quarter result that's just been released, we know that women have made financial progress. There's been a bounce back in the slowdown that we saw in the December quarter. Arguably, that's been affected by the jobs fallout related to COVID and those services sectors, mainly female dominated, that were hardest hit early on in the crisis. So this recovery that we've seen, this mainly female-led jobs recovery, has been a good thing, a key highlight of the March quarter result. What does all of this mean? Well, it means that women are in a stronger financial position. We hope that that continues, because ultimately that will help towards better financial security, more money when it comes to investing, and a greater a reduction in the time frame towards achieving gender equality. Now, when we look at gender equality, what we've also learned from the March quarter is that it still remains the case that we're sitting at about 101 years to achieving gender equality. That's based on the worst performing sub-index, which of the Women's Index, which is unpaid work. So women are still doing the lion's share of unpaid work, be that at home or in the workforce. So that acts as a major barrier to workforce participation, paid participation, which of course impacts financial progress. So that's an area we really need to work on. Where there has been gains in the March quarter is in the employment sub-index in relation to gender equality. So we've seen an improvement in gender equality in the workplace in the March quarter. Now, this is a good thing, and that's been because we've had record increases in female workforce participation. We have more women in full-time and part-time work. We've seen huge bounces actually in the recovery in retail trade and food accommodation, particularly among over 35s. So this has been a good thing for progress for the Women's Index score in the March quarter.
So Bianca, what are the 6 things that the Women's Index has taught you and you think that could help others?
So the 6 things that the Women's Index has taught me over the past 4 years relate to 6 key areas, quite obviously. Unpaid work. Ask yourself, how much are you doing? Where can you make some changes to benefit your paid work capacity? Superannuation, what does your balance look like? Have a think about that. Where does it stand to the average? Leadership, where could you be leading more in your life at home or at work? Where do you want to be? Underemployment, where do you want to be doing more work? Where are you not doing enough? Where are you available to do more? That one's really about capacity. Employment, what is your employment situation? Is it actually working for you? Is it flexible? Is it not flexible? Do you want it to be? And income, so that all relates to our gender pay gap story. What does your wage look like compared to your peers? Are you actually having those conversations with your friends on pay? Don't be afraid to front up to discussions around pay. So these are the 6 things that are critical to your financial progress, 6 areas, and I really encourage you to have a think about how they relate to you because once you start to think about that, you can start to make changes to enhance your own financial progress.